Hey there! Today, we're diving into a really important international agreement that honestly works like a global safety net. It's the reason you're not totally on your own if things go sideways in a foreign country. You can think of it as a promise of protection for when you're most vulnerable. So let's start with a tough question. Picture this. You're traveling, and the worst happens. You get arrested. In that moment, who is legally required to step in and help you? The answer, it turns out, is baked into a super important treaty that most people have never even heard of. All right, Section 1, a traveler's worst nightmare. Because let's be real, getting detained abroad is pretty much the perfect example of why we need rules in place when we're far from home. Now, just imagine for a second a world where getting help overseas was basically a lottery. Your entire fate could depend on, I don't know, the mood of the local officials or whatever the political situation was that day. There were no guarantees, no standards, just you hoping someone might decide to help. It was a total gamble. So that brings us to Section 2, a world without rules. Because before the middle of the 20th century, that gamble was the reality. When it came to protecting citizens, international relations were just a tangled mess, and that often led to a lot of confusion and, frankly, real injustice. This slide really just lays it all out, the incredible difference. Before 1963, on the left there, it was pretty much chaos. Help was inconsistent, it all depended on luck. But look at the right side. After 1963, the whole picture changes. One single agreement brought order to all of that, setting up global rules, standardizing protection, and actually guaranteeing rights for people. Which leads us to Section 3, the global safety net. So what was this game-changing agreement? Well, it's called the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations, and it's the very thing that created this worldwide safety net we're talking about. The year was 1963, and this date, it really marks a massive turning point in international law. It was the moment the global community formally said, hey, we need a standard system to protect our citizens no matter where they are in the world. So what is it exactly? Well, the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations is basically the official rule book for consulates. It lays out what they do, what their powers are, and, most importantly, the whole framework for how they protect their citizens when they're abroad. Now, here's something that trips a lot of people up. What's the difference between an embassy and a consulate? A really easy way to remember it is this. Embassies focus on politics, the high-level country-to-country stuff. Consulates, on the other hand, focus on people, providing services and protection directly to citizens like you and me. Okay, Section 4, Your Rights Explained. So, what does this convention actually mean for you as an individual? What does it guarantee? Let's break it down. So the convention outlines a whole bunch of core jobs for consulates. As you can see, they do everything from issuing passports and registering births to even promoting trade. But two of the most critical roles they have are helping out in emergencies and, of course, supporting citizens who've been arrested or detained. But out of all these functions, maybe the most vital protection you have in a crisis is the right to something called consular notification. This one right can be an absolute lifeline. So here's how the process is supposed to work, step by step. If you're a foreign national and you're detained, the local authorities have a legal duty to tell you what your rights are. This isn't just a suggestion, it's mandatory. And from there, you have the fundamental right to have your consulate notified. This whole process is the key to making sure nobody has to face a foreign legal system all by themselves. Now, here's a kind of interesting legal detail. It's about immunity. You see, while high-level diplomats get almost absolute immunity, consular officials get what's called functional immunity. This just means they're protected for things they do as part of their job, like issuing a visa, but they could totally get a ticket for speeding in their personal time. It's a really practical level of protection that lets them do their work without fear of being hassled. And hey, it's a two-way street. The convention is super clear that with all these rights and protections come responsibilities. Consular officials absolutely have to respect the laws of the country they're working in. They can't just go around interfering in local affairs. Okay, Section 5, why this still matters. I mean, the convention was signed way back in the 60s. In our world of instant messages and constant flights, why is it still so important? Well, because today, with millions of us crossing borders all the time, this convention is basically our first line of defense. It's crucial for tourists and people living abroad, for sure, but also for folks whose jobs depend on global travel, like airline crews and sailors. It's the essential safety net for our modern connected world. At the end of the day, it all just boils down to this simple, powerful idea. Consulates exist for one main reason: to protect their people. And it's the Vienna Convention that gives them the legal muscle and the clear rulebook to make that protection a reality, not just a wish. So that's the Vienna Convention, working quietly in the background to keep you safe. Which kind of leaves us with one last thought. What other invisible global agreements are out there, protecting you in ways you might not even realize?